And we're live. Wow, that's great. Hello, folks. This is a little bit awkward. Let me start this off this way. Oh, don't you love technology? It always sets up for a really good start to a live stream. For those of you that aren't aware, we're having a little bit of technical issues with our hookup with Facebook tonight, so they will not be joining us, and that is why you all saw me before you were supposed to see me. Welcome to E2C Network Live, where we are getting together to talk about something in the world of the Auburn family spectrum, always heavy on the sports here on this channel. But if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. We appreciate you joining us and being here with us, whether you are watching live or on the replay. Tonight, it is Monday night, and it has been the case throughout this very long, very tumultuous season. We are breaking down and grading an Auburn football game. This time, the Auburn versus Georgia game. And yes, it will be painful. It will not be good. And we will have some opinions to say. Although we are not going to focus so much on grading the coaches, because we always know how we feel about that right now. But we're going to be focusing mainly on the players. That is what is on tap for you all tonight. Before we introduce our normal co-host and get him into the shoot here, I want to remind you of a couple things. Please do make sure that you smash that like button as you come into the stream. Please do that for us. Make sure you also post. This is your check-in period right now, whether you're watching live on the replay, whether you're watching on Facebook or Twitter tonight. Excuse me, not Facebook, on YouTube or Twitter, since we don't have Facebook at this moment. Please do post where you're watching from. City, state, international. We'll say hello to a few of you as we get to that point tonight. And we're going to hit this thing with the ground running. So, as I always say, whether it's on this show or any of the other ones, the Auburn experience is best done with others alongside you. And that is why he's back again, Captain Plainsman himself, although in his alter ego, Benjamin King. What's up, sir?
Oh, Kyle, it's good to be with you, sir. Captain Plainsman only comes out for wins, so
you said it a little bit differently in the off screen when we were not live.
I'm trying to keep it a little bit nicer here, so we're gonna be positive.
We appreciate
all
that.
Positive all the time.
We appreciate that. War Eagle down the road from me, Neil lives. I said this before, Ben, that Neil is also a snob from Cobb, as they like to call us up here. So he's not too far separated from the two of us. Corey's checking in. Good to see you. I missed the live streams over the weekend. The funniest part of the game was when Ashford dropped the ball. I don't know was that funny or was that just sad? I was sad. That was the moment I turned my TV off and went to play golf.
It was very typical Auburn. You missed the touchdown.
That was amazing, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yes,
shouldn't have turned it off and played golf. We finally scored a touchdown in the fourth quarter for the first time against a decent team.
Right.
In like 10 games.
So. There you go. Look, we're already starting off with positivity tonight. Who said this was going to suck, Ben? We are starting off with positivity. That's all.
Touchdown in the fourth quarter. That doesn't happen very often for Auburn.
We got 10 points in the second half, my friend. You want to talk about improvement?
Take that, Georgia defense.
Oh, man. Ben, you're not freezing your butt off in Pennsylvania still, are you? No, he's back
my
home.
Gosh. I'm staying south, man. South of Mason-Dixon line rest of the year.
Yeah.
Winters are terrible up there.
We may not see Captain anymore.
Hey, we do play Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers.
Yes. Let's keep up the hope.
Arkansas, without their stellar quarterback, looks like trash.
Yeah, I missed
that. Texas A&M has the same record as us, so.
And they have Jimbo Fisher, who makes confusing decisions.
Terrible coach. Never should have beat us in a national championship game.
Listen, this is about not making us feel worse than we already do, Ben. Don't bring that up. I was there.
Revenge.
I was there with you watching that.
I know. Hurt. We had the toilet paper in hand. We were ready to sprint.
It was bad.
Revenge. Let's get them.
Revenge. We also have another Cobb County person as well. What is going on? Is this like the Cobb County convention tonight? I mean, I love it. But hey, this is interesting tonight. Well, thank you guys so much for checking in. You guys can keep doing that throughout the show tonight. For those of you that know the drill about how tonight works, this is about grading the different positions within the offense, defense, and then we'll do special teams as well. And then we'll kind of give an overall grade. as has been the case a lot recently. I don't know that we've had Ben. I think since we started bringing you on regularly during the season, we've just started tanking. So maybe you're the problem, and maybe we need to get
Hey,
rid of
man, I'll go back into retirement. I was asking myself today, why did I agree to this?
I know. Listen, if I had known it was going to be this way, I didn't think we were going to have some outstanding season, but I did think that it would be a little bit more fun than it has been. Listen, it is fun getting together with you. It is fun
Same.
getting with these fine people in the Auburn family and the E2C network family. It is not fun grading this debacle of that is going on right now. Unbeaten Lake, I did the math. We have been outscored 188-47 in the last 6 meetings since 2011. I guess in Athens. That is a horrible, horrible stat. Yes.
Deep South's oldest rivalry?
It's kind of going the way of right now. Now
Deep South's oldest beatdown.
The difference is they come to our place and we usually get a win every once in a while. Georgia Tech. When's the last time Georgia Tech beat Georgia?
I feel like it was more recently than us.
I feel like it was once in the last decade. Maybe I feel like there was one year where they were sneaky good. And that was about it. And that was like their one like spurt of reliability they had in terms of playing college football recently. So, and they're in kind of a similar situation as us. They've gotten rid of their coach already and they're hunting for that. People claim that Coach Prime's coming to them. Highly doubt that. But either way, we'll see what keeps happening in that front. Bama without Young is bad, I guess is what he's saying there. They're not bad.
Not bad.
Not as good. Not as good.
So last time Georgia Tech beat Georgia was 2016.
Okay. So we beat them in 2017 at home. That was when we kind of demolished.
There we go.
So look at that. We're
better than Georgia Tech.
Take the wins where you can get them because we're about to hand out a lot of L's tonight. Half the team is on the shelf. It's going to take a leprechaun riding a unicorn for the rest of the season. Listen, I don't want to be a pessimist and indulge in this, but he's kind of right here. I mean, and this is kind of part of the whole grading process here. We have to keep some of this into perspective, right? We are literally dropping like flies. This naturally happens throughout a football season in terms of losing somebody. But we went from, already having a beleaguered, questionable offensive line to having a line that has pieced something together and then started losing all of those guys too. So good luck. You talk about the defensive front too. Iku's out for the season likely. Derek, did you get an update on Derek or anything? I haven't heard anything.
No, I haven't heard anything either.
My goodness, we cannot. Now, listen, there have been people that are stepping up. We'll talk about some of them in the grading process, but yeah, we are hurting bad for bodies at this point. And even when those bodies weren't doing all that great right now, it makes it a little bit tougher. And then some other kind of bigger, finer points we're trying to hit here. These I had in my notes as well to discuss. Those penalties were beyond bad. It looked like a team that hadn't practiced in a while. Well, it's interesting, right? I'm going to use my buzzword here on the show. Context. Think about it from the, that frame. We're already piecing together an offensive line, and then you're trying to keep guys on the field that are getting hurt too. You can understand why some of the false starts happen. Now, the problem is they happened from the very start of the game and continued on. So it's kind of like we didn't even get worse. We were just doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Defense sacking Bennett was the highlight until the drop ball. Yeah, we did get to him. Here's the funny thing about this, Ben. If we talk about just the general topic of this game before we get into grading, we walked into this game first quarter. I think you and everybody else, myself included, ended that first quarter and we're like, okay,
yep,
all right. Who? What? We're not getting blown out. We are competitive.
Defense came to play.
You could tell from the get-go that Georgia was still better, in terms of just being where they're at right now. In my mind, you could see they were moving the ball down the field. We were just making stops.
I think there was a point where we had more yards than they did.
And that's fair. Statistically, it depends on how you want to have that conversation. Statistically or just perception-wise. My perception was, regardless of the statistics, Georgia was still better at that point, but it wasn't as good as you thought they would be. And then we made some questionable coaching decisions. We made some penalties. We made some drop balls and things like that, and it
Yeah.
just
We had
blew up,
penalties from the start, which killed our drives. But Georgia couldn't get the ball moving for their first 2 drives.
which was interesting. And that goes to show you, I don't want to go out on a limb and say the 2019 defense would be is probably the most wasted defense we've ever had. But this one's kind of getting up there. It is a far cry from 2019 and those type of names that we had there. But I think they are, as I've suspected, are just sneaky good. And it just hurts to see them affected by
I wouldn't
this.
say they're wasted. Quite a few guys that are on our team right now will be playing on Sundays next year. So
It's all
Auburn
about
in the
perspective.
NFL is something that I really appreciate. So, some defenses that I can draft in fantasy football. There we go.
There you go. That's one way to look at it. If you are a Tampa Bay fan, you are big on Auburn defenses with both corners. We haven't seen that in my lifetime, and that's incredible.
Yep.
So that's always fun to talk about there. Kent State scored more points on UJ than Auburn. Oh, just hit me while I'm down. Wow. It's like literally punch me in the guts, sir, one more time and talk about it. All right. We have just kind of lamented over the general thoughts here for a while. But let's dive into grading this, if you want to call it a football game. We'll start with offense as we often do. And unfortunately, I think this is when we just need to go ahead and get the bad one out of the way because it affects, again, as it always does, but it affects the rest of the team. So let's just go ahead and get the ugly one done, the offensive line. Ben, thoughts?
Yeah, they were offensive.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
So, look, I can't believe we start with the worst thing on the field.
But we have to.
Everything breaks down when you can't get a push up front.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. Look, starting the game, we looked okay.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive line, they held a few times, and we got called for it every single time. I do feel like you can call holding on almost every play, and those refs were said, watch me. So it definitely happened anytime
you wouldn't be quoting our coach on that, would you? Just watch.
Sure. There we go. Just watch.
Just watch.
Just watch us get called for holding every time because I can't coach an offensive line. But that's okay because Gus couldn't either. So look, the guys, they're full of holes in multiple ways. They have personnel that are injured and they can't block anyone. So, when you have an offensive line that doesn't give really any protection for your quarterback nor open any holes, it's tough to play, nose to nose football. When you lose in the trenches, you typically lose in the games.
Right. Yeah. It's the easiest thing to say, but it's the most true thing to say about the game of football. It is a game of inches. It is one there. I've said it 1,000 times, and I will say it till I'm blue in the face because it's surprising the amount of people that don't get that and don't understand that concept.
I can't hate on the personnel because they're the same dudes that we've had,
and they're trying.
A few other dudes. Yeah, and it's not like they've given up, but man, they're not as big. They're not as strong. They shouldn't be playing in the SEC. And it's tough.
See, I disagree a little bit. I think not all. I'm not going to, one of the big questions.
I'm not saying all either.
But what I'm saying is there is this narrative out there that we are so much undersized than most of these other guys. Maybe, if we start comparing numbers holistically, maybe we are a little bit smaller, but I don't think I've seen that big of a size differential. To me, it's just this group doesn't mesh for one particular reason or the other. They all seem to care about each other. They all seem to love each other, be great teammates to each other. But as a unit, it does not work. And I don't think it's a size thing necessarily. I don't think it's a talent thing. I it's a mentality thing. I think it's all of those things together. It's like every piece that works, there's two pieces that are missing that kind of connect with it. And so you've got this puzzle piece that's completely got, like you said, got holes in it. And
I will give the boys this. None of them have quit. And for the offensive line to have as difficult of a matchup as they do, and to have such a challenge as they do, and to not really play well together, at least they're not quitting.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that's one thing that people cannot question about Coach Harsin and his team right now. They have not given up. They are trying their hardest. It is just not working. it's just not working. So with that being said, is there any other grade other than the one that we know for the offensive line?
I mean, no.
So F.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing redeemable about that game.
Right.
Maybe the first quarter. Maybe the first quarter they had, it's like you came into a class and you got to the
F
point.
Plus?
You got to the point where it's like, okay, there's a drop date, and you're like, you know what? I think I can make it through this. And then the first test comes in the second quarter. Granted, after your professor decided to go for a fake punt on your own 35. Then the momentum's flipped, and all of a sudden you fall apart. You fail every test. It's just one of those things that you just get a W on your transcript for. These guys get a W.
A W?
But see, they didn't quit, so maybe they just fail. I don't know.
How about this? I will give them an F plus simply for not quitting, but their performance does not warrant anything other than
that. You guys are so close to a D, except nowhere close.
Right. That's really what it is. Jackson says that's wrong. Nick Brahms literally quit. You understand he had to stop playing for
he had to retire.
medical reasons. I hope you're joking, Jackson. It's hard to tell sometimes, but I literally hope that you are joking about that.
You're like, do you want to walk anymore or do you want to play football? Well,
I'll choose walking. Lee says offensive line first half F, but our O line in the second half, I will give at least a D or a C plus. Did you see enough from the offensive line after that to warrant that?
Mm-mm.
Maybe I'm just so scorned by it that I couldn't see that. You may have a point though, Lee.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I gave him an F overall.
Anyway,
bring your GPA up.
That's O-line, not good grades, no matter what you think it actually is.
This is a gap game.
Gap game. Wow. Gap class, gap game. All right, let's move on to quarterback and talk about that, because not a great game for Robbie in the least bit. Was not one for him stat-wise, completion-wise. Not that he had a lot of support. A lot of that support lacking, again, is why we talked about it from the very get-go, the offensive line. Not creating a run game, not protecting him. And, you even saw the announcers, much to our chagrin, harping on this a lot and saying that he's running to his right a lot. And I will admit,
I would too.
I would.
If I was in Robbie Ashford's position, I wouldn't even hesitate. I would get out of the pocket as quickly as possible and give myself a one-on-one matchup with a defender and hope that I can see someone down the field.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of get understandable. And I think this is one of the things that I hope people, not to open up old sores and stuff like that, but the same thing that I personally was trying to point out to people about Bo Nix, the habits that were developed, and it's still his responsibility to control those habits because those are his habits, but you understand why these habits get developed now. And you could understand why Robbie slipped into some of these situations too. And the frustration, I felt
you don't want to get killed.
Exactly. And I felt bad for the kid. You don't want to see your quarterback throwing his helmet down on the sideline, slamming his hand down. But in one sense, you're glad that he cares.
I love the passion. Yeah,
I love the passion.
I was happy to see him.
You want to see some composure too in that situation.
That fumble was potentially a 25-yard run, and he just completely dropped it.
He did.
So
yes. So I'm happy for that he cares, but I'm also wanting a little bit of composure in that sense. But he's a young guy, right? You understand that, and you could understand the situation that he finds himself in. He wants to do well, and he's trying his hardest with his current skill level, with the level of support he gets. 13 for 38 on the day. My goodness. That is not going to do it. 165, one touchdown, which we'll talk about in a second. A long
63-yard touchdown, baby.
It was a thing of beauty. So, when you look at him, if you want to talk about his run game too, He ran 9 times for a net of 52, a long of 17. And as you pointed out, would have been a much longer run if he had held on to the ball, and fumbled once or twice.
He lost one.
I can't
I
remember
think.
exactly. I know he lost the one, but I can't remember if it was. Here we go. Robbie Ashford, 2 fumbles, 1 loss. There you go. That's how that happened right there.
Yeah, because we picked the other one up and landed on it.
You can't drop the football. That's just a mental error, not tucking it and running. But again, we're giving a lot of grace for him. Any other thoughts on Robbie and what he had to do or had to deal with?
All right. So we mentioned our quarterback from last year already. So let's bring him back up again, right? Bo Nix also played this Georgia team, lost 49-3.
Yeah.
Robbie Ashford played this Georgia team, scored 10 points. So
that's one way to look at it. So
look, granted, Bo's gotten a lot better since that game. Georgia's a tough team to play against, especially when you don't have an O-line. I really hope we can get some protection for Robbie in the future because he's so talented. And I don't want him to get the same type of habit that Bo had because you're just running for your life as soon as you get the ball in your hands.
Yeah.
But he played his heart out until the end of the game. And the fact that we scored in the fourth quarter was, 1, because he was still playing hard, and 2, because Jarquez Hunter is one of the best running backs I've ever seen in my life. So
he is quickly rising up.
Probably the best one on the team. So, what does that tell you? We have 2 of the most talented running backs in the nation on the same team.
Yep.
And we don't have an offensive line, so it doesn't look good on paper.
It doesn't. And it just begs the question, what if that offensive line would help them out? More on them in just a second. So listen, let me acknowledge this when I give my grade for Robbie, that I acknowledge what he dealt with and situation he finds himself in and the lack of support that's there. First, Ben, what would you grade him as in his personal performance?
For his effort, I gave him a B-, but for his performance, he gets a C.
So we're going to say, okay, so C. So it would really be a C+ if you
for that fumble, he gets a D.
Okay. you're like taking the moments and like cutting it down to
I'm telling you the tests and how the grades came together to formulate that C grade.
Okay. People are going to boo me for this one, but I'm going to go ahead and give it. I gave him a D. And I acknowledge all.
Boo.
I get it. Listen, you can boo me all you want. I acknowledge every bit of lack of support, but the fact still remains. You put the ball on the ground twice. You lost it one time. He
didn't throw an interception that didn't get called back.
That's true. So there were other decisions. It was not a great game for him, even given all of those circumstances. So for that reason, I have to give him a D. But that is with as much love and understanding as I can. Just trying to be fair here.
I love the heart. I love the passion. If he wasn't so pissed off about how poorly he played in a couple scenarios, and granted, he had no help at all. If he wasn't so passionate, I would have definitely given a worse grade. But because of that,
that's fair.
You can't play with more passion than he did against a Georgia team where you're getting blown out.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's move on to running backs. We've already talked about them a little bit. Tank, again, is just suffering from no holes being created for him. His stats on the day, 10 rushes for 19 yards. Let me say that again. 10 rushes for 19 yards. Wow. Jarquez Hunter, 5 rushes for 21 yards. He had a long of 9. And obviously he had his great catch spin move thing that was really just poor tackling by
3
Georgia.
guys.
Three guys.
Spun out of 3 guys.
And ran down the field. So even though that's technically part of the receiving game, we're using that because we got to factor that in here because Jarquez Hunter gave us the only little bit of life we had. And I remember, Ben, this is funny. Seeing that happen and then be like, oh, we got it. Oh, no, that time is not going to help us. Like it gave me that false sense of hope that we have a chance. And then I realized
I was screaming.
Yeah.
Oh, I was jumping up and down. I was like, heck yeah, we scored in the fourth quarter. Woo! I was like throwing things around. Caroline and I were high-fiving. It was great.
Right. It was fun.
That's where we're at right now, though. I mean, that's kind of where we're at.
Jarquez obviously has stolen the spotlight this year because he's had more touchdowns. He's, done more variety of things. And there are people, as you brought up or bring up the question, is he the best back on the team right now? I don't know that I'm willing to go there yet, but I am willing to say that he is a different kind of back, and he is the best that type of back that he is on the team. I am so glad that Jarquez Hunter is here for a variety of reasons. I see him around campus a lot. He's at, he and Derek Hall have been like mainstays at other athletic events, supporting other teams, not just basketball, the easy ones to go to. But, Jarquez and Tank are just being wasted right now. And it sucks. It's frustrating.
Look, man, Tank Bigsby is going to make it to the NFL next year. I am picking him up in my draft. Right now, rookie of the year, no matter where he goes, watch out. Because
probably so.
If he had any dudes around him who could block anyone, he'd be a complete monster.
He would. So this is a tough one again, as it's been a lot of the time for us to really honestly grade the running backs, because there's no push for them, no room for them for the most part, outside of Jarquez doing a few nice things. How do you grade this one, Ben? Like, what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's weird. So for the talent of the running backs, they're like A+ talent. For the effort of the running backs, I mean, solid B effort. For Jarquez Hunter's reception that turned into a touchdown, that was A+ work. But for the overall performance of the running backs, I'm having trouble giving them a C.
Yeah.
And it's tough because, like, look, when you look at all the different individual tests, it's just, we have to get these guys out in space, because if you try to run up the middle, you're just dooming the guy to go down as soon. And here's the thing, Tank is great at making something out of nothing when he gets hit. Well, you know what? He had 1.9 yards per carry, and that was after being hit in the backfield almost every time. So, like, Tank is definitely gone. He's going pro.
Well, yeah,
or he transferred somewhere.
But
I
listen,
don't see why he would. I think he's going pro.
Tank's going pro. I mean, this wasn't a question of Tank staying if other circumstances happen. Tank was gone. It's the same thing that I said about Bo after this year.
They're Jarquez might be gone too.
I hope not, because I hope Jarquez sees the potential for him in a renewed year with a new offensive line and maybe a new coach. So,
I haven't heard anything on the recruiting trail about picking up guys.
Well, here's
last
the great
time
thing.
I checked, we didn't leverage the transfer portal last season,
right?
So,
because we didn't need to, in theory, this year, because we had so many bodies.
There's a whole Nebraska team who doesn't want to play anymore, and those boys are built big.
You want the
give me some corn huskers on the plains, baby.
Corn.
Yeah. It's got the juice.
What was your overall grade for running backs?
Yeah, I gave him a C.
I'm going to give them a C+ because I feel so bad for them. I'm giving that plus on top of that. As hard as this one is to grade, or running backs was, this one's even harder for me. Wide receivers. How do you grade a group that barely got any touches overall? Now,
it's the targets and receptions.
Right.
That's how you grade them.
That's fair. You throw into here the consideration of tight ends. It's part of this game, especially, and then even the running backs catching. So Jarquez is in this equation a little bit too. And ironically, if you look at the top 3 targets, tight ends and running backs, Javaris Johnson again is our mainstay there with 5 targets, but he only catches one of them for 20 yards. We got Zevion Capers getting a catch of 16. Coy Moore got in there with 1 catch on 4 targets for 14 yards. And then we tried to get the shed Tyler Fromm, Jay Fair, and Zaylen Worsham, but to no avail. Then I really don't know how to grade this group. And I don't know that I'm ever going to be able to be fair to them because of, again, it's a similar story here. No support from the offensive line to create a pass block to give time to our quarterback and other areas as well, but also the mistakes made by Robbie too. So I don't really have any critiques for these guys. Maybe there was a few drops that shouldn't have happened, but I can't even really think of those. Can you think of any?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. What you
Frederick
got?
Jackson was targeted 5 times. He didn't catch a single one.
Okay.
A couple of those were catchable. Coy Moore dropped a few.
I do
Like
remember
in the
now.
middle of
No.
the field. In the middle of the
Yeah.
field, just hit him in the numbers and just dropped it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Capers is the only one that actually caught the only pass that he was passed. So kudos, best wide receiver of the day. Then you've got Schenker, who, he caught a little over half the ones he was passed, but once again had another like holding or false start or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, you're probably the most tenured guy on this team. What are you doing? I mean, Schenker has probably more penalty yards than we as a team do.
So what do you think
Like,
is the reason for
on a
that?
percentage wise?
Right.
I don't know.
Like, is it frustration? Is it overcompensation because he knows nobody else is blocking?
Maybe it's that. Maybe it's like, man, I got to make up for my dude and the dude next to me because I know my brother can't block this man. So,
right. Kevlar, if you hate grading this, how do you think we feel about it?
It's
we got
tough.
to put together a show for you guys, and it's not great. It's not
Look,
great.
I could go player by player down here and give them grades, and it's tough because look, your best offensive weapons at wide receiver right now are not wide receivers, and yeah, Robbie was rushed a lot. He threw 38 times. We caught 13 of them.
Yep.
Not every single one of those was way off. There were a few. There
were a few
that sailed
throwaways.
high. There were 2 throwaways.
Yep.
There were some bad passes, but there were also a lot of bad drops.
There were. So, with that in mind, Ben, how do you grade this unit for the offense?
Yeah, I give him a D. I give him a D because, look, you know that your quarterback is running for his life. The only thing, the play breaks down immediately. Get open and give him a place to throw the ball, please.
Right.
That's your only job at this point. Don't care about the routes. If Harsin yells at you for it, yell at him. Get open and give Robbie someone to target, please.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. I'm actually very generous compared to you and I think it's just because I'm giving so much grace because of the other circumstances. I gave them a B-, just because there was
for
nothing.
Who?
I listen. I had to give someone some half decent grade, and it certainly wasn't going to be the running backs. It certainly wasn't going to be the offensive line. It certainly wasn't going to be Robbie. So I had to give somebody something, and that's what I felt like I had to do just to make myself.
Congratulations, Capers! You put the team on your back. You're the only one that caught the only pass that they were passed.
And listen. The running backs are involved in that. The running back catch is involved in that process too, technically. So it's kind of
three receptions from actual wide receivers.
Yeah.
3 out of 38 from actual wide receivers.
All right. So if we grade the whole offense with all that in mind, Ben, what's your overall grade for the offense?
This is a D performance. Offensive team. Yep. So look, you have an F from the O-line. Bad F. You have a, what was it, C from, did Robbie get a C? I think I gave Robbie C.
You did, yes.
You get I think it was a C for, I think all of the other ones had C's or D's. And then a D for C for running back, D. That gets you to a D overall, D average. And we sucked. So.
I'm throwing out my averages, like trying to do that. I'm just gonna say it was an F+. Like obviously it wasn't the worst.
We didn't quit, and because of that, and heck, we had the best fourth quarter we've had against a decent team in 10 games.
Yeah.
And look, Georgia didn't quit either. It's not like they were putting out, their fourth string players out there saying, all right, go hit somebody.
Right.
They were still playing too. They didn't want us to score on them. It's just the will of, Robbie Ashford and Jarquez Hunter to get the ball out in space and to make 3 dudes miss on a single tackle and run into the end zone for a 62-yard touchdown is what scored that game. So I mean, scored that touchdown gave us at least, you know, a bright shining moment in a pit of darkness.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's the offense. Not good. Not good. Let's talk a little bit about defense. I don't know that when you look at the whole picture of the defense, are you going to feel a lot better about the team's performance? But you will find some, you know, higher moments to get excited about in this. One note that I had here is that the opponents, we have held opponents scoreless in the first quarter for the 5th time this season. So this is not a case of a defense that's not showing up and setting the offense up for success. So I want that to be noted, that the defense, for the most part, has shown up and has given the team the stability they need to start the game. The offense has not, which is interesting, right? We talked about at the start of the show when we were talking about overall thoughts about the game, about how this first quarter, based on that stat I just read, the 5th time this season we've held someone scoreless, the weird position we found ourselves. It's like, are we really in this game right now? Like, how is this happening? It's an odd thing.
Coaches were like, "Are we in this game? Let's change that."
Yes, that I'm sure that's what happened. I don't think anybody will understand that reason. Here's what I know. Here's what I know. Coaches and support staff, whatever other titles you want to throw out there, they spend a lot of time trying to figure out what to do and not to do. And I trust that they saw something that we thought was going to work. What I question is the timing of it.
Exactly. That's what I'm feeling too, because Harsin explained it. He said, "Hey, we were in a position on the field where we knew they weren't going to go into punt safe. And so we thought we had it. It was a 4th and 3. All we had to do was make up a few yards. Granted, if you go back and watch that play, the runner got blocked by his own dude into the ground. So it wasn't even a tackle. It was we hit our own man and knocked him out.
Yeah.
So poor execution for a stupidly called play in a poor part of the field.
Can I be honest with you, Ben, about something?
Please.
I have yet to watch that play. My TV cut out right at the play, and I can't bring myself to watch it.
You need to. It was pure comedy.
I cannot bring myself to watch it. Like here's what happened. So literally I saw us, you know, not convert the 3rd down, and then we were kind of lining up, and I was like, or I guess it was the switch over to the second half because it was the first play of the second, right? Is that my timing?
Second quarter? Yeah, somewhere in there.
Second quarter. Something like that. It was coming back from a break. And so cut off, trying to get the connection back. I'm actually traveling back from the airport, trying to, you know, keep it on your phone. And then next thing I know, when I get the signal back, Georgia's on the 30-yard line. And I'm like, well, okay, there's the Georgia I know. They busted loose on a play. And little did I know that there had been a fake punt. So in my mind, I'm not as mad because I didn't see it. I'm just, I'm living in the reality that it didn't happen.
I think Georgia had like 20 yards up to that point, or at least that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And the defense had come to play. And here's the thing is, like, we've done this multiple times now, and you have people who are foolish, like Ole Miss's head coach. They use the analytics, and you have people like Auburn's head coach who just have a gut feeling about, well, this seems like something you would do on NCAA football 2014.
Would you do it on NCAA 2014?
No! I would line up and I would roll out to the right and I'd hit one of my running backs in a wheel route.
Yeah.
Because I'm not running a fake punt on a 4th and 3 on my own 35.
Right. Hey, real kind of off topic, but Lee, where have you been, buddy? Calzada's been for the last 2 weeks. He's out for the season with his shoulder never got better.
Yeah.
We're not using him because that boy is not ready to go.
He is out for the season. He is injured. Then we've got TJ Finley, who is here. I've got a little thing. I wonder if you can see this. Oh no, you can't because of my stupid.
We can kind of see it. But
stupid background, but yeah, it's Calzada out. TJ Finley not expected to play. Holden Griner backup Trey Lindsey third string. So
Trey Lindsey never thought he would be third string.
there
Never
you
in his
go.
life. And that's where we are.
Yep.
All right. Let's grade some positions for the defense here. I think when you look at the most flash comes from, again, the defensive line, the defensive front. And again, this gets confusing. Not confusing. It's just complicated the way we play with an edge rusher who is technically like a defensive end that kind of has a hybrid linebacker mentality. But we're kind of throwing all of that together here. Of note, Colby Wooden stripping and ripping and getting that fumble, which was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Here's what makes me frustrated. As much as at times we got through the defensive front of Georgia, I just wonder how much better it would have been with Iku Leota there, with alongside Derek Hall, alongside Marcus Harris, Jason Jones. Listen, Marcus Harris, Jason Jones up the middle, they're not getting their names called a lot, but they're doing the work to spring some of these guys like Derek Hall, like Colby Wooden, Iku Leota when it's healthy. Yes, the defense, I think it was Neil that brought it up earlier, 42 points. So you can't really sugarcoat that. Yes, you can a little bit because the context of what was going when you have lost some of your talent by the end of the game, given no support at some point.
Also, there's this. Remember when I was saying earlier that you could probably call holding on any play, and the refs were like, "Oh yeah, watch this." Well, when Georgia came on the field, they were like, "Oh yeah." They'd see nothing.
Yeah,
our guys were being thrown to the ground, trying to get to the quarterback, and didn't matter.
Right. Yeah. That was it's the frustrations of things being called and not being called. When you grade the defensive line, I've noted some of the highlights here. If you would like a few more stats, I can get those for you, but you probably have. I'll just read them off for the fine people on this channel if I can actually get to where it was. All right. So for your defensive line, edge rushers, they're not the leading tacklers or in the top 3, but Derek Hall, before he got hurt, had 6 total tackles. Colby Wooden with 5. We've already noted his forced fumble and recovery. Also had a tackle for loss with that. Let's see here. Going further down, you got Marquise Burks with 2, Jason Jones with 2, Marcus Bragg. Marcus Bragg again didn't show up a lot in the stat sheet, but I felt like I saw him a lot more, especially after Iku Leota, him taking his spot. So I just wanted to make sure we mentioned him as well. You got Marcus Harris with 1, and Joko Willis, I think, is kind of that hybrid player too. He got 1, Jeffrey Imba with 1. So when you think about what we've talked about with the defensive line, the edge rushing position, given the injuries and stuff, what's your final thoughts and grade on that unit?
Look, they didn't quit. Even after getting blown out in the second half. They get a passing grade because they're more of like the bright shining portion of this. So I have to give them a C because a C is technically passing. But it did not look pretty.
You're right. Yeah. It seems like you get a participation, effort there. Like you showed up and you did some of the things we asked you to do.
You took the benefit of the curve.
Let me give Marcus Bragg one more kudos here. I did note this from some other stats that you probably don't have, Ben, or maybe I don't know if it shows up on the regular stat sheets. Marcus Bragg did force the other fumble that Georgia had. It just was never recovered. But he gets obviously that just a few tackles, but he needs to have that thrown in there for forcing a fumble too. For me, I'm giving them a B-. Yes, they gave up a lot of points. Yes, they at the end kind of
292 rushing yards.
Yeah, that was a lot. But I'm going to give them a B-. They showed up, gave our guys an opportunity to respond offensively, and they didn't. And you kind of just have to at some point say, listen, I understand whatever you do at this point. If you want to say Olay it up. Anyway, so we got an F there from Neil on that, which is fair. I understand, Neil, but Neil, you also didn't finish watching the game, sir. So what do you know?
I'm kidding, Neil, were you there long enough to see Bennett run for 64 yards on a touchdown?
Oh man, that was painful. That was painful.
Stetson Bennett.
Don't bring that up.
Stetson Bennett.
Don't bring that up. All right, linebackers. We've got, again, very interesting setup here where there's fewer linebackers that we really have an opportunity to talk about because we're doing in that 4-2-5.
I hate our defense right now.
I don't hate
The
it, but I
defensive makeup.
also don't like it either. However, your linebackers are at the top of the stat sheet, mainly because by the end of the game, they were the ones having to make the stops because they were getting through the defensive line. Owen Pappo with 8 tackles, Wesley Steiner with 6, Cam Riley again with 4. I feel like there was one more in here that I'm missing. Joko Willis kind of is a linebacker hybrid too. I forget exactly what he is. Barton Lester gets on the stat sheet with a tackle, but I think that was more so on a kickoff return or something like that. Anyway, Jake Levant, the new linebacker scholarship, he gets on the stat sheet. Everybody got an opportunity to play in this game because it was that bad. Again, I feel like I just need more from the linebackers, Ben. They did show up a lot in some plays, but I also just can't really think of moments where they shined either. So thoughts or anything extra on linebackers?
I mean, my favorite play for a linebacker is someone who stays in coverage and then rushes either the passer or the runner. And because of the defense that we call, that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And so they just try to get in line to make a stop for a 10-yard gain.
Right.
And that just doesn't look good.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of, the defense that we play and not necessarily the talent that we have. Because I know Owen Pappo is great. I know some of these guys are incredible talents.
Yes.
But this system, look, they've done a great job with it, but I don't like it.
Yeah. And that's more of a preference thing. But you asked the question, though, could it be better? Better suited a different way, different system?
It could be much better.
Yeah. But here's the thing we keep going back to. The defense is ultimately not what let us down in this game. They kept the floodwaters back, dammed up as much as they could, and they finally just had to release some of the pressure. And when they let that pressure go, whoa, boy, did it open up.
Yep.
Real quickly, I have linebackers at a B-, and that's probably not even a correct grade. It's kind of the same situation I had with the wide receivers where they didn't do a whole lot in my mind other than be at the top of the tackle stat sheet, but that's not necessarily indicative of great play. That just means that they were there to make the tackles. I'm just going to give them a B-.
I'm not hating on any of the players because of this. I'm hating on the formation and the defensive plays we call. D for linebackers.
Yeah. That's fair. I can't argue with it. Like, I mean, I'm not going to, this is an area where I'm not going to argue with someone's great. Now, if you give them an A, I'm going to probably argue with that. If you give them an F, I'm going to argue with that.
Yep.
But if you range somewhere from D- to B+, I'm probably going to be like, that's fine. B+ might be pushing it. B is probably the ceiling for me, but it is what it is. And Neil even admits that he didn't watch it and says F. He said, all I need to know was the score, which is fair. All right. Last group, defensive backs. Now, if you just glide over everything that we just did, the pessimism, how frustrated we're upset with coaching calls, with play, non-production of the offensive line, I think you'll miss a scarily interestingly good, competitive group. Improved group. And that's weird to say. And none of least we should skip over. We need to talk about him first. Is DJ James is rising to the top of that list very quickly. The guy who's transferred over from Oregon, he had a tackle for loss in this game, which was the first of his season. I remember that one and him making an impact on that. So we were getting help from them as well, coming up and making plays too. And if we want to go back and look at, yes, we talked about Stetson Bennett and that annoying run that he had that we should never let a guy like him get away with. But Stetson Bennett is 22 for 32 for 208 yards. He had a long of 24, and he was also sacked once too. So 208's a decent day for a quarterback. But if you're the Georgia Bulldogs and you've been the number 1 team at least once this season, been the number 2 team most of the time, you would expect them to do a little bit more in the passing game, frankly, especially the
Mhm.
way Auburn's been this season. So not just this game, but the rest of the game, the defense has been sitting, the defensive backs have been sitting back there for the most part, getting the job done and not being a big thing that lets the dam break. So it's interesting, right? You have the dam breaking up at the front, and you would expect it to get worse as it kind of goes back, but it doesn't. It seems like they're there to make the tackles. And I think that's a lot like guys like Keontae Scott, James coming up and making plays, guys that just want to be at Donovan Kaufman. And you've got stalwarts like Nehemiah Pritchett, who are for the most part doing their job. I find very few flaws in this game, defensive back wise.
Yeah, and I think part of it is because Stetson Bennett wasn't really comfortable in most of this game because of the play of our D line.
Mhm.
And the D line never gave up. They kept coming at it. They didn't make him feel comfortable. I love the improvement from our, secondary, from the cornerbacks, from the safeties. I don't think we had any pass breakups, which is fine. But we did have,
Is it though?
we kept him under wraps. We had a tackle for loss from a guy in the secondary. We've seen improvement. I'd say for these guys, you give them like a C-.
For me, I'm going to be again generous. I'm going to give them a B+ because I think on a day where we could have gotten torched, rightfully so, by
Yep.
Stetson Bennett, they have good wide receivers. You know what? I'm actually going to stand by my B+ because we had guys that we had to go up against, like McConkey, I think his name was, Darnell Washington, tight end, and gosh, why am I blanking on their big tight end now? Help me, Ben. The big the guy that everybody's talking. Bowers. Yes. Bowers. Brock Bowers is the one that's been just lighting it up, but he didn't against us.
Brock Bowers only had 2 catches for 36 yards.
When you got these tight ends,
5 for 47.
Right. These tight ends, really good wide receivers too. And we obviously, you talked about it. It's a team effort. Defense got a good rush on him. The front seven got a good rush on him and made him uncomfortable. But the guys in the back cleaned it up. 208. That's it. I'm going to count that as a win against the number 2 team. So for me, that's why I'll stand by my B+.
Georgia's a run-first team. So, I mean, Stetson Bennett is not a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Right.
But he's, good at being a game manager, and that's fine.
Will that be his Heisman run if he wins it against us?
No. No, there's so many more better quarterbacks out there right now.
I'm just saying,
but
in a world where Stetson Bennett's the Heisman winner, is that his Heisman run? Sadly, no. I think it is. I think it is. I think it's because there's no way that he should be doing that against an Auburn defense, and he did it.
Against a handful of guys that are jogging?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
At that point.
Anyway.
I mean, look, it was an impressive run. You know what? He didn't get touched, and that's sad.
Yeah, it is.
But look, he sprinted for 64 yards. So, kudo to you, little buddy. You got a rushing touchdown. It looked impressive. Congratulations.
So,
you're not going to New York.
No. I was just trying to do the hypothetical there. Overall grade for the defense, Ben, what have you?
Yeah, I give him a C- overall.
Okay.
Look, when you get 42 points scored against you, it's hard to get a good grade. But the level of effort there was still strong towards the end. Giving up that long run was not a bright shining moment. Let's say that.
Yeah.
But overall effort throughout the game, especially early on, I was so impressed with the way our defense was playing until the momentum was taken away from the entire team. And stupid coaching and play calling will kill your entire opportunity to win games.
Right. I'm going to change mine a little bit. I actually had it written down in front of me a little bit higher, but I for conceding some of the points you've made, I'm going to give them a C+. I had them at a B-. So I'm going to give them a C+. They did allow 42 points. And that's, again, kind of
some of those are embarrassing.
Conceding what Neil was saying is all I need to know is they gave up 42 points. That is a fair thing to say, but I also want us to acknowledge where the effort was, where the results were too for a lot of the game, and there was just no support for them too. But so I'll settle on a C+.
Yeah, as far as Vegas lines go, Georgia was a 30-point favorite. It had gotten down to a 28-point favorite prior to the start of the game, and they beat us by 32. So
the fix is in, it sounds like.
Mm.
Special teams. Can we just we're taking the coaching decision. The coaching decision was awful. We've already acknowledged it 1,000 times.
Oh,
Can we grade the special teams without that in it?
Another guy that's going to be playing on Sundays is Oscar Chapman. Holy cow, can he change in a game of field position? If he had gotten to punt every single punt formation we had gone out for, he would have been MVP. We didn't because of stupid play calls, and that's fine. I would not say that play had any chance of actually working. It wasn't poorly executed. It was poorly called. Stupid call. I don't blame the special teams for that.
So we agree. We're negating that from the grade. That is all coaching.
Yes.
That is all decision making. Okay.
Coaching an F-.
It's very clear how we feel about that. Special teams wise, though, you said it. Punter Oscar Chapman. Let me hit you with this. 9 punts is the most in any game. 9 punts is the most of any game this season that he's had. His previous was 8 against Missouri, not too far long ago. His career high was 10 against Alabama last season, which was a much better game, because it was a defensive struggle more than, 2 teams looking terrible. It was just really a defensive battle. Oscar Chapman is a beast, is a man among mid. The man from down under is just the man on top. Like he is the MVP of this team right now, frankly. Also not to be forgotten, a lot of questions about Anders last game. Knocked down the 1 field goal we asked him to make and did it. Obviously it wasn't the most long one out there, but hey, listen, in games like that, you can't dismiss those things.
He did kick one of his 3 kickoffs directly out of bounds, though.
Was that by design or was that by?
No, I think he was trying to get in the end zone and he just whoop.
Yeah. We missed the block on the fake punt. Our lineman had 1 job. Yeah, well, we've known how that's gone this season.
And we blocked our own guy.
We did
into the ground.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just still hating on that play.
I know you are. On another, just to not say that everything outside of that was great on special teams. We did give up 1 long return, shortly after the fake punt thing. That was a different one, but that's an area where we could have improved a little bit, and we didn't make a lot of wow plays. Not that we made them punt a whole lot, but special teams for me, if we discredit that coaching decision, where do you sit at in grading them?
Look, Carlson made his only attempted field goal because we only had opportunity for 1. So that's a solid performance. The kickoff out of bounds, while it didn't matter, was still a little irritating. So I was like, what are you doing? So as far as field goal kicking, he gets an A. As far as kickoffs, he gets a C.
Okay.
For Oscar Chapman, the golden leg, change in field position, he gets an A.
Yeah.
Our punt coverage and kickoff coverage gets an F. Oh my gosh. I partially understood the reason we went for the fake punt right after, and then I got angry again. So
so a continuous cycle of Ben going like this the entire game.
And then I don't think we can really do anything when it comes to look. We didn't fumble a punt, and we got a couple of those where they were very close. Caught every single one. Georgia had to punt quite a few times in this one, right. So I'd say that they did well. I'd say special teams is probably the bright shining moment for me in this game. I have to give them, outside of the stupid call, which is not their fault, and the kick out of bounds. Kick out of bounds is really the only blemish besides that stupid call,
and the long kickoff and the long punt return, which was
F on any type of kick coverage, whatever. That's fine.
So what's your overall grade?
I give him a B-.
I'm actually going to give them an A, discrediting again. I think people who just tune in and only hearing that part is like, what about the fake punt? We've acknowledged that is separate. That is separate and an F. The big thing for me is the allowing the punt return to go basically down to, like, I think it was like the 25 or something like that, setting them up beautifully just to, go up 14-0 at that point.
Yeah.
And that's not on Oscar Chapman. That was the coverage. Oscar Chapman, you are a gem. You can have that creeper stash all you want, sir, because if you kick like that,
playing
you
on
can
Sundays.
Listen, you can wear a tutu out there for all I care if you keep kicking like that, sir. I will not want to look at you, but hey, you keep punting that thing away and be in a bright spot for this team right now.
Paint your leg gold, wear a tutu.
Yeah.
Kick an average of 56 yards.
Yeah. So we found a few bright spots in there, Ben. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't fun, but it was. We can take a few more comments and questions if you guys would like. Ben, any final thoughts on this game and this team?
Yeah, I have a comment. So,
oh no.
Look, everyone's calling for Harson's head right now. And you know what? I think that's the wrong call.
Oh no.
We should let Harson live with this. He gets an F for forget getting fired until after the season's over. You need this on your record. Maybe then he'll get us to 6-6. It's possible. 6-6 is still possible. We can make it to a bowl game.
It is very possible. That's the sad
Arkansas
thing.
looks like trash. Texas A&M looks like trash. Trash A&M. We've got Western Kentucky, the good old Hilltoppers. That's a win. That's 3 more wins. That's a bowl game.
It is. Okay.
This
is going to be controversial, but I'm going to bring this point up. I know Ben's not going to like this, but I'm actually going to, even without watching the fake punt, I am going to agree a little bit with W.T. Gardner. So hear me, go with me here, Ben. Well, you're not going to go with me, I know, but we're just going to understand. Okay. So fake punts, those type of things, to me, if you don't do them, you're not trying. If you do them, you're an idiot. This is not there's a no-win situation in this. You're not going to please everybody. So really, it's one of those things when you are a team that is struggling the way that you are, you kind of have to do some of these things. However, and what I concede and what we talked about earlier with the fake punt, the timing was horrendous. And I will completely give that over to that. So, but I agree. I'm glad that WT brought this up, because that needs to be acknowledged, that we are a team right now that has to do things like that. Now, you wish we do them at smarter times.
When we did it.
Yes.
So WT, I get you. But here's the thing. Had it worked, I would have said that was the stupidest play call that got very lucky.
Or it could have been beautifully executed.
It wouldn't matter. It was still a stupid play call. Based on the way the game was going, based on the momentum that was happening, based on the fact that Georgia kind of felt like they were on their heels for a little bit. They looked like garbage.
Right. So Ben, you would still say it was a stupid call if we had run it back for a touchdown.
You're not running that for a touchdown.
I'm just asking a what if. This is not a likelihood. This is a what if. If they run it back for a touchdown, was it a stupid call?
It would have been a stupid call that we got the most incredibly lucky. I would have gone out and bought. I've never gambled at the Georgia lottery, but I would have gone out and bought a scratcher. Been like, man, Auburn is lucky today, baby. Get me to a quick trip.
And that is why I love Ben King, because he will not give up.
No, that was a stupid play call. It never should have worked. It never should have been called. It was a game of inches at that point. We had all the momentum. We had Georgia on their tails. And we were just like, hey, by the way, here's a free touchdown. You like the gift?
On that note, I want to give you a couple of reminders before I stir Ben up any more tonight. Please do check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support our content. You can join the Booster Club, patreon.com/E2C Network. If you don't want to head over there and get those perks, though, you can stay here on YouTube, especially if you're watching here. Join up as a channel member for $1 a month. Get access to those icons next to your name, the emojis, all that good stuff. And as a reminder, Wednesday night, the 12th, we are doing our regular Auburn Family Night live stream. You can call in and be part of the show. Don't miss it, because we always have fun times on those because sometimes I just misbehave and yell at people and make them upset. And we have to have come to Jesus meetings. But hey, we're all part of the Auburn family, and family fights sometimes. So
There you go.
it's always a good time here. At least I think it is, because I keep doing this and keep coming back despite the football team.
Ditto.
Guys, yes. Let's see. Hindsight is 2020. Ben King, it still shows that Harsin hasn't thrown in the towel.
I mean, does it? If I'm like, man, maybe we have a chance here, let's end that. Then where's the towel to throw? Woohoo!
Oh my God. That was better with the blue-green screen effects, dude. Thank you for that. On that note, that is how we're ending the most ridiculous, probably one of the worst graded shows that we've ever given for a football team. Ben, I know that you enjoy doing this to some level, but I'm sorry that you have to do this on some level, sir. But thank you for being here.
The whole reason we started this thing almost a decade ago was for therapy. So thank you, Kyle and the Auburn Nation, for therapizing my Auburn woes. I appreciate you all.
You're welcome, buddy. Thank you for being here. We thank you all for joining us and being part of the show tonight, whether you watch live or on the replay. And we'll be talking to you either this Wednesday on our next live stream, or if you come back next Monday after an Ole Miss game, it'll be pretty interesting. Till we talk to you again, though, appreciate you being here, and War Eagle.